Okay, this is the answer key for the factoring review worksheet number 1. Okay, so on this first one here, we've got 4-term grouping. Okay, so on 4-term grouping, we're going to go ahead and group it off after looking for the GCF, no GCF. So on this first one here, I'm going to pull out a 5r squared and get 2r plus 1. On the second one here, nothing will come out, so I always pull a 1 out and get 2r plus 1. Now, make sure your insides match. If insides match, we're good. So rewrite putting together your outsides. So 5r squared plus 1, and then 2r plus 1 is your final answer there. Okay, number 2, pull out a GCF here. Your GCF in this case will be m to the 5th. Again, always just pull out your smallest variable. So I have 5 m to the 4th. So there were 9. I pulled 5 out. That's 4 left over. Minus. Now all of the m's on this guy right here came out, but keep in mind that there is a 1 in front, so it's just going to be minus 1. Now this is not a difference of squares because I cannot square root the 5, so I'm done. Okay, number 3, so we are looking for factors of 42, right, that add up to 13. So 6 and 7 pop into my head pretty quickly there. So I've got v plus 6 and v plus 7. Again, they're all positive, so I know my answers are positive. Okay, and keep in mind 6 times 7 is 42, but when I add them, that's how I'm getting that 13. Number 4, all right, so now this guy is a DOS or difference of squares. I have subtraction in the middle. I can break down in square root. I can break down in square root. So 25 becomes 5x and 5x. I have a plus and a minus, and then the square root of 16 is 4y and 4y. Okay, number 5, now this is what I'm calling a hot mess. It's just craziness everywhere, so pull a GCF and then move on. So if I'm looking here, it looks like the biggest number I can take out would be a 4. M's, I've got 1, 2, and 2, so I'm going to pull 1 out. On my ends, I've got 3, 2, and 3, so I'm going to pull out 2 ends. So I'm going to get 2, m comes out, there's 1 n left over, plus 2, and then I have 1 m left, the n's moved out, plus 5, 1 m moved out, so there's 1 left over, and 2 n's moved out, but there will be 1 more left over there. And that's your final answer. Okay, on number 6, okay, again, we're always looking for GCF first. In this case, I can pull a 2 out and get x squared plus 9xy minus 10y squared. All right, so now I am looking for factors of negative 10 that add up to 9. So 10 and negative 1 looks like it'll work. So I'm going to keep my GCF of a 2 out front. X squared is going to break down to x and x. I have a plus 10y and a minus 1y. All right, going over to the next page here, number 7. Okay, so unfortunately on this one, there is no GCF. I do have a number out front, so I have to go ahead and start my list. 1 times 5, 1 times 14, and 2 times 7. All right, so I'm doing inside, outside until I find something that works here. And just kind of looking right at this right off the bat, nothing's going to work. I'm going to need to go ahead and flip one of my lists. So now when I do that, 5 times 7 is 35. 1 times 2 is 2, and I make that 35 negative. Okay, so now my front numbers will be 5r and 1r. I'm going to have a 2, 7 combo on the back side. Okay. And then if I'm looking here, the 5 times 7, I want that to be negative for a negative 35. And then the 2 times 1 is positive. And that right there is going to be my final answer. Okay, again, remember, you can check it if you're unsure of your signs. Okay, so on this one, again, unfortunately, there's no GCF. So I'm going to have to go ahead and make a list. So I've got 1 times 4. 2 times 2, okay, 30. I got 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't divide unevenly, 5 times 6. All right, and I'm looking for something that's going to give me a 29. Okay, I don't see anything that's working right off the bat here. Let's go ahead and flip because I did all my inside outsides. I didn't see anything that worked. So let's go ahead and do 4 times 1 and 2 times 2 again. I'm not checking the 2 times 2 again. Okay, now it looks like I might found something that worked. So 4 times 6 is 24. 1 times 5 is 5. So that would work. All right, so my front number here is going to be 4x and 1x. My back side is 5 and 6. 5 and 6, it's all positives, so I have all positives there. Okay. All right, number 9. Okay, so we have a 1 out front here, so I'm just looking for factors of negative 40 that add to negative 3. So 5 and 8, and then I'm going to make the 8 negative there. So I'm going to get the a squared is going to break down to a and a. I have a positive 5 and a negative 8. Okay, number 10. All right, unfortunately, there's no GCF, and these numbers are huge. So since these numbers are so big, remember the little trick before you start making lists, especially 169. Who wants to try to figure out all those factors? Let's try the square root of 6 times 6. And then on 169 there, it's 13 times 13. Okay? And if you didn't know that, just put that in your calculator, and you'll get that out. All right, so now I'm going to take 6 times 13, and I get 78. And 78. So now when I add that up, that does give me 156. Oh, that's good because I wouldn't want to make a list of all that. So I'm going to get 6x and 6x. It's all positives, so all positives. And then on the back side here, I have a 13 and a 13. Keeping in mind, I'm fine if you write it like that, or if you have 6x plus 13 squared, that's the same thing. Okay, number 11. Okay, this guy is 4-term grouping. I don't think there's a GCF here, so I'm going to go ahead, and start grouping. I'm going to keep that negative with that 35 there. Okay, so on this first one, I can pull out a 3 and a b squared. I get 5b minus 8. Okay, on the other guy here, I can pull out a negative 7, and that's going to flip it over to a positive 5b and a negative 8 when I do that. Now, insides match, which is awesome, so I'm rewriting the outsides together. 3b squared minus 7 and 5b minus 8. Okay, number 12. All right, so this one's looking like a difference of squares. There's no GCF. So I'm looking, can I square root it and break it down? Yep. Do I have subtraction? Yep. And can I square root? So this is a difference of squares. So I'm going to get 3b minus 5 and 3b plus 5. And that's going to be my final answer. All right, that concludes this answer key.